That's it right there.
Okay.
Oh, there's somebody in the front yard.
Her life was changed forever. I mean, her baby was gone.
This is the home where Christopher Abeyta disappeared from. The door was left open.
Yes.
And Christopher's gone.
Yeah.
Take big cojones, come in here in the middle of somebody's house.
I meet my mom and I grab her by the shoulders. I'm like, Mom, calm down. He's got to be here somewhere. And she looked at me and it was fear, a mother's fear.
Here's the thing, is that Denise and her family have believed for years that they know who took Christopher.
Yes. And they have been very vocal about it.
He asked my dad, is there anybody new in your life? And that was the revelation. My dad looked at him and my mom there and he goes, you're gonna find out anyhow. Seeing her curled up, like just in a fetal position. I need my baby, I need my baby. And then to see that she didn't get any help. She didn't get any help. She was out there looking for her baby.
Now it makes so much sense why law enforcement is so tight-lipped about it.
Like, what happened that night? Why that night? Why was Christopher kidnapped that night?
So you mentioned that some of the officers that you had worked with at the courthouse, did they also feel that that was the same situation?
Has law enforcement ever named a suspect in this?
They have named a person of interest.
We're going to go talk to the brother. We're going to ask him in reference to the alibi that we spoke about earlier. Well, thank you for talking with us.
Well, not a problem. You know, like I say, I ain't got nothing to hide.
Her mom's dying wish was to find her brother.
So that brings me to the question is, if that's what I believe, is Christopher alive?
Do you think he's alive?
That's the million-dollar question, Crystal.
Hey everyone, I'm Crystal. I was a TV news reporter and anchor for more than 15 years, covering stories of remarkable people, tragedies that turned into heartbreak, and stories that are now part of history. But there are some stories that just stick with you.
How many missing persons cases do you believe you have?
Every year, tens of thousands of people are listed as missing. So I called in the expertise of my longtime friend, retired detective, now private investigator Lewis.
I really don't believe that. There's no evidence behind it.
Together, we're diving into cases that sit untouched for years.
I feel they focus too much on him.
You think so?
And it may not have been him the whole time.
And hitting the road.
Farmington, here we come.
Along the way, we'll talk to those left behind.
She was wonderful. She was my older sister.
Something feels missing.
Just went home.
Something's not right.
And to those who were part of the investigation.
I mean, the same dog found burnt remains.
All in hopes of uncovering new details.
He has never been interviewed by police.
That's the person that I think did it.
To give families some closure as we go beyond the case.
And 3, 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Case. I'm Crystal.
Hello everybody, I'm Lewis.
In this week's episode, we are covering the bizarre disappearance of baby Christopher Abeyta. He was only 7 months old, Lewis, when he disappeared in the early morning hours of July 15th, 1986.
He went missing in the middle of the night after one of his sisters bottle fed him and put him in his crib.
Now, in addition to that, Christopher's dad had also spent the night at the home, something he had not done for several months.
We know that about 6 o'clock in the morning, Mom woke up and she did not see her baby in the crib. So she started freaking out like any other parent would.
Right. So the door was actually left open when they discovered that Christopher was gone. So, and a lot of people may be wondering, did they focus too much on Christopher's family?
And did that focus allow somebody else to get away with Christopher's disappearance?
We've covered new information on this case, and we're going to take you for the journey of this long investigation as we head to Colorado this time.
Take me back to the nights we felt alive, picking up the pieces on a summer night. I didn't know that I would feel just like my heart's on fire whenever I'm with you.
So we're on our way to Christopher's sister. She was 15 when he disappeared. Since then, unfortunately, Christopher's mom has passed.
That's right.
So has Gilbert, the father of Christopher. Her mom's dying wish was to find her brother.
We are less than a quarter of a mile away, right here. Yes.
Okay. Where the Virgin Mary's at?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, you ready? Denise, I'll just have you sit here.
Okay.
Is it hard to see your little brother's picture on binders and all over the internet?
You know, what's hard is so much time has passed, and he's a young man. He's a middle-aged man. He'll be 40 this year. And that's where he's a baby stuck to me in 1986. Denise Elvis, and I am his sister.
Tell me about that night before Christopher disappeared. What was it like? What were you guys doing in the home?
It was my recollection, it was a calm night. We made dinner. We had a couple family friends over. We were sitting in the living room. There was no TV on. We were just talking. There were a dozen roses on the coffee table. My parents' anniversary was right around there. My dad had sent my mom flowers. And I remember it very well. I had smelled one of the flowers and I sneezed. And Christopher laughed at one of those belly gut laughs. And we all looked over because we realized he probably never seen a sneeze or heard a sneeze, and he thought it was funny at 7 months. And so then my other sister smelled it and pretended to sneeze, and he laughed, and it was a funny thing to see him laugh. And he was the first time ever he put his hands on top of the coffee table and pulled himself up. And that night, I said, can I give Christopher his bottle? So she gave me the bottle, and I gave him his bottle. He fell asleep. We still had company there. My mom said we should go lay him in his crib. So I carried him up. My mom followed me. We laid him in his crib. Nothing unusual. We just laid him in his crib. And my mom placed a blanket over him. I told my mom, I said, if he wakes up tonight, you can let me know, Mom, and I'll take him. Everybody went to their rooms to go to bed. And then the next thing I remember, I went to sleep, and I remember hearing my mom's voice before I saw her. And I remember her saying, Christopher, very loud, Christopher, he's not here. Christopher, he's not here. And she shoved open my door, and I saw her from, like just being awoken. And she was frantic, and she's Christopher, do you have Christopher? And I'm like, no. And I jumped up. And when I got up, she's already halfway down the hall, and my dad is coming out of the room, and he's in his undergarments, and we're all just being awoken. And My other sister, we kind of all meet sort of in the hallway, but I meet my mom and I grab her by the shoulders. I'm like, Mom, calm down. He's got to be here somewhere. And she looked at me and it was fear, a mother's fear. I wasn't a mom, I didn't know, but it was a definite, she intuitively knew he's not in his crib, like he's not here. When I got there, the door was open, was left open. Then my dad looked at Linnea and he's like, we call the police. We woke up at, probably 5:30-ish, 6,
So
I don't know
between
the exact.
midnight and 5 a.m.
5:30-ish probably,
Okay.
yeah, somewhere in there.
is when something happened in that home.
Yeah,
And the door was left open
yes,
and Christopher's gone.
yeah. The blanket was left. So then at that point, my oldest sister, Linnea, my dad, and myself, we're looking and my dad says, Tabitha, call Tabitha. Maybe Tabitha came home, and again, this is, it wouldn't.
That's the sister who
Yeah, the
spent
sister who spent the night. It would have been unusual, but not if she had potentially come home and heard, oh, he's waking, and said, I'll grab him. I'm gonna go get donuts for everybody and come back.
Okay.
That was just the family we were. We were like that. And so there was this, probably not, but maybe. So I remember picking up the phone and calling, and Stacy answered. I knew right away they didn't, because I woke her up. She went, hello. And so I knew that they didn't, but I was like, Stacy, do you guys have Christopher? And she's like, no, what? You know, it was very odd.
Right.
And so it was a quick phone call, and I'm like, he's not here. And she goes, we'll be over, her and her friend. And then my dad looked at Linnea and he's like, we call the police.
Tell me what police did inside that home.
They came in and they absolutely did not put any crime tape up. They did not fingerprint. They did not, nothing, not the banister going upstairs. They were out in the backyard looking around bushes, looking. They went up into the attic of the house.
And you mentioned they didn't take anything out of Christopher's crib?
They didn't take anything out of Christopher's crib. It wasn't until a few weeks later the detective came back and said, did he have any blankets? The police did do one right thing. That they did, like they separated me in a police car. They separated my sister, you know, so.
That way they can ask each one of you what happened.
That morning was slow motion, and
very traumatic.
Yeah, it was very traumatic. And I remember going to the police car, and he rolled up his window, or he cracked it, and he lit a cigarette. And I just remember that so well because nobody smoked in my family, and I remember like the smoke. And the very first question he asked was, when you woke up this morning, did everybody look like they had been sleeping?
Okay, so this lake is not too far from the home of Christopher Abeyta. And it wasn't that long after his disappearance that law enforcement decided this was something they had to look into.
And the search was done in July. So the lake was full of algae. So they actually used helicopters to try to break the algae apart so they could better see. It is a pretty big lake, as you can see.
It was the very next day that they actually did a complete search, a foot search and a search of the lake, looking for Christopher.
Yes.
Later on that evening, around 4 p.m., 6 divers started actually searching Quail Lake. The search, though, was called off after an hour because the sun obviously was going down, so it was making it difficult to find any type of evidence, or if they're looking for a body, it'd be difficult for them to find it. They come back Thursday. Divers began searching again early that morning. Another foot patrol is done, so detectives now are walking around this lake here trying to find any type of evidence that would suggest that Christopher was tossed into the lake.
Right.
So what would prompt law enforcement to come out here so quickly?
According to them, if the family was suspect, then they had to check within that area, that immediate area, and they did.
They drained this lake,
Yeah.
not completely,
Right.
but enough to where they felt it sufficed their search.
Right.
That they determined Christopher was not in the lake.
Yes.
There's two scenarios as to how this could have gone. One, somebody abducted the child to care for as their own, or to give to somebody else as part of maybe a trafficking of babies, correct?
Right. Yes.
Or two, somebody just wanted to get rid of the baby.
Yeah, I think it's the latter in this situation.
Do you think law enforcement missed an opportunity, though, because while they were searching for him, they forgot the other element of this investigation by taking evidence from the home?
Yeah, they missed a lot of opportunities.
Any person who had ever entered our home, that's our good friends, family, they were on that list. We made it was like a poster board, and we gave it to the police.
Was she on the list?
She was not on the list because we did not know she had been into the home. I do remember my mom and dad being together at one point, and because the recollection or what I was told was that it was Detective Reisler. He asked my dad, "Is there anybody new in your life?" That was the revelation. My dad looked at him and my mom there, and he goes, "You're gonna find out anyhow. There's a woman that I had a thing with," and he gave them Emma Bradshaw's name.
As Denise said, even though Gil was gone, he would still come around.
Right.
Yet during that time where he was, not at the house, he was building or continuing a relationship with Emma. For whatever reason, he came back. And that is the night that Christopher disappeared.
He had not planned on spending the night. My dad called his secretary in Pueblo.
If somebody were to be in Pueblo and then travel to Springs to potentially abduct a child and then to make it back by 5 a.m.,
Yes.
it is possible.
Absolutely.
This is the home where Christopher Abeyta disappeared from.
Take big cojones, come in here in the middle of somebody's house.
You think it was more of a personal abduction?
This is where the crib was.
The crib was right here.
The crib was right here. And what do you think that motive is?
I think the motive was revenge.